What began with 70 people, a family, going into Egypt, eventually turned into a nation so powerful that the king of Egypt had to destroy all of the male firstborn children in order to bring the population level down. They were that afraid. It is very likely that we begin the book of Exodus, we're going to start learning a lot of new things, especially about Moses, about the kingdom that God is beginning to establish, which will be Israel. The Israelites are now in the land of Egypt in slavery. A new king comes to power that very likely was a different nationality or different dynasty, essentially, taking over, because any other pharaoh would have known his history. He would have known about Joseph. He would have known about Israel. He would have known all of that. But for him to not know about Joseph surprises me. Makes me think that it may have just been something like a different takeover of the land, because we do know Moses was highly trained. Moses was schooled in the house of Pharaoh to be one of the most educated people in that time. And just like the Apostle Paul, he was fully capable of doing what God was going to call him to do. Even though he eventually, loses his confidence that he is capable of doing things. He was a warrior. He was a prince of Egypt. He may very well have known he was Hebrew. We get that understanding in myth, but I find it interesting when Pharaoh is telling the midwives to kill the firstborn, the boys, because he says that, the midwives are like, we couldn't get to them fast enough. These women just have their babies so quickly. We don't know what to do. Wouldn't you like to be a Hebrew woman, not have that long of a labor? I know with my kids, it was like 12 hours for the firstborn, 12 hours for the twins. It was like ridiculous. Why can't you just, right out, midwives are like, we can't do anything about it. So, of course, the Pharaoh was like, forget it, and just, kill them all. Eventually, they continue to grow in power. Moses is born. His mom sends him up the river in a reed basket, which was very likely similar to the ark. It was covered in the same kind of pitch and waterproof material like the ark that saved Noah and his family. So he got Moses going up the river Nile. And then, I find it interesting that his mom ends up getting paid by Pharaoh to nurse him. God provided for Moses' family in that way, whereas all these families were getting slaughtered and get in horrible economic depression and slavery. God provided for Moses in order to bring him to where he wanted him to be. And the next chapter says, he was a Hebrew. When he got older, he went out to go check on his neighbors, his fellow Hebrews, and see what was going on with them. And he ends up murdering somebody. And the king of Egypt tries to kill Moses, so Moses has to flee to Midian. And then he ends up having a wife and a son named Gershom. He calls him Gershom because he's a foreigner in a foreign land, just like his fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, were foreigners in foreign lands. In a foreign land, it's interesting how God sets Moses up to put him in a place of a shepherd. Shepherds are so important. God always uses the shepherds in the Bible as key people that he's going to use to spread his message. So here we go. Moses, who was on the top of his game, CEO of the company or whatever, brought low. Now he's a janitor, walking around. And one day, as a shepherd, he hears God's voice out of a burning bush. This is the important thing. Genesis 3 is the highlight, the key, most important. I am. That's the statement that God makes when God says, Moses is like, who am I to go before Pharaoh and get Israel out of there? Who am I? He lost all his confidence. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to do it. Like, who am I? So I don't have anything. The angel of the Lord is appearing before him. You'd think that if God appeared before us and told us something to do, we'd do it. We'd be afraid. Moses was a little nervous about this. But that's the point. Isn't what your qualifications are, but God's qualifications. ramifications. As we study, we learn that more and more. Continues on through. Moses asked, "Who am I to go before Pharaoh?" God could have said, "Well, you were already in Pharaoh's house before, this Pharaoh died that was trying to kill Moses, and a new Pharaoh was in power, but still, you're fully capable." No. God doesn't say that. God says, "I am. I am able." That's what God is able. Yahweh, I am the God of your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will take care of you and free my people from Egypt. I will free my people Israel out of Egypt. So that is exactly what the message is in that chapter. And we continue on through. It says, "I am who I am. Say to the people of Israel, I am has sent me." You're supposed to go to the elders then and tell them all of these things. And he prophesies right then that Israel will be given the wealth of Egypt. Because Egypt is going to force them. The Egyptians are going to be like, "Get out of here, please, we're done." And we'll see some interesting prophecies in the next few chapters where it's like, we're done, just take all this stuff and go. God already tells Moses right there, and Moses is still afraid. So here's your confidence for today. It's not about you. It's not about what you have to bring to the table. It's about what God has brought to the table. His power through the Son in you for whatever he has called you to do today. With that, continue on in the next chapters. Have a good day.